Morgan, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
For those that may be watching, Morgan decided, for whatever reason, to ride his bicycle from one side of... Is bicycle like a demeaning
This
term?
sounds very
No,
like
that's pretty
circusy.
accurate.
Bicycle.
Ride your bicycle
Yeah.
from one side of Florida to the other side of Florida,
Yeah.
coast to coast,
Yeah.
in one time, one
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, in 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a
What?
hell of a day.
So tell me, why is it that you decided to do this bike across Florida?
I've always been into challenging myself. Always. Like, whether it's... I'm always trying to learn something new or progress or move further in something. And I've been riding bikes since I was a kid. You know, I grew up riding BMX and I've always ridden motorcycles. That's just been like in my blood. And so BMX started to hurt too much and I had to find something else. And so Ben and I, the other guy that went on a ride with me, we both bought these bikes together and we just started doing rides like every night. And
Right.
it just became this thing. And then there's an app. So this is what really fucked me up. There's an app called Strava. And basically what this app is it gamifies cycling. So you sign up for the app and it's kind of it's almost like a social media platform for cyclists. And I think they have running as well. But so you make these segments wherever. Like in Sarasota, there's hundreds of different segments.
Okay.
And these segments are from, let's say, like, you know, here to your house or something like that. It'll be like anywhere from a mile to like 20 miles in these big or large, small segments. And the goal is to essentially do the segment in the shortest amount of time.
Okay.
And then you get what's called a KOM. So you're like the leader of this segment. You've done it in the fastest amount of time. So they gamified this thing. So like,
oh, geez.
so people are just like
So
losing
there's
their
tons
mind.
of them. So you can go around Sarasota and be
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do this segment and beat this
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
and be the top.
And yeah, and so you're competing against everybody else in Sarasota.
How many
So you
people
just-
are doing this?
Thousands.
Really? In
Thousands.
Sarasota?
Yeah. It's crazy. There's like
What?
there's a huge community of it. And
Are the times ridiculous?
they kind of get crazy, yeah.
So like it's not something that you could go and just
Yeah.
kill all the times.
No, it's not like a casual thing. People
Okay.
take it like very seriously.
Are you KOM on anything?
I think I used to be because
Yeah.
I would chase those segments. Like that's what really got me into riding.
How long has this been
heavily.
a thing?
For me, it's only been a thing. I think it was like, I don't know, like a year and a half ago when I figured it out.
What's the name of the app?
Strava.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah. It's one of those like subculture things
Okay.
where, but yeah, me and Ben and Colin, the other kid, like we would always sort of battle each other, you know?
Okay.
And yeah, I would just go out and get drunk and try and hit these segments. But that's what really, like, that was sort of my progression into cycling. And then Ben and I just started doing some longer rides, like on accident. Like we would sort of ride around Sarasota and we'd come home and be like, oh, we did 50 miles. Like, oh, you know, it started at like a 10-mile thing and then
Yeah.
a 20-mile. And then we were just like, I wonder if we could ride across the state. And we just did it. I don't know.
See, to me, like I went to school in West Palm Beach, so I was back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
That seems like the most boring ride
Yeah.
ever. I
Yeah.
mean, Middle Florida is like,
Yeah.
and dangerous. There's not a lot of shoulder on those roads, is there?
No, not really.
There's no bike lane.
Yeah. I mean, there is, but it's not much of one.
Even getting out of, so where on the East Coast did you go? Where did you start?
We started in Fort Pierce.
Okay.
So basically, if you take Clark Road east,
Mhm.
it eventually runs into State Road 70.
Yep.
You take a right on State Road 70,
Yep.
and literally when you hit the water, that's where we started.
So you don't go Beeline Highway?
Nope.
You don't go 710?
Nope. So it was just a direct shot, State Road 70, and then to 72, and then we started at
Gotcha.
the beach over there and ended at Crescent Beach in Sarasota.
Jeez,
So,
man.
Yeah.
Well, how did it
was-
feel getting to like the last 10 miles and being in the city of Sarasota and traveling towards the beach?
It's one of those bittersweet things because, so basically what happened was you sort of have these ebb and flows of morale throughout the ride. You know, at the beginning, obviously you're really excited and you're doing it and you're kind of moving along and you start to fatigue, and then you get like these weird, almost like endorphins that sort of like come up and,
Yeah.
and so like around the middle of the state, you start feeling kind of good again and you pick it back up. And then, so by the time we hit Myakka. We stopped at the Myakka entrance, and by the time we hit that, it was
which is about 30 miles in. I mean, from the shore, right?
Yeah, something like that, 20 or 30 miles.
Okay.
So by the time we hit that, we were like, morale is just gone. Like, you're just exhausted, you're miserable,
Yeah.
you're delusional, like everything bad is happening. And just all the pain is there. And I remember, like, I was pulling. So there's a term called pulling. So basically, if you ride in a line with cyclists, there's a person, you ride in a straight line, so that way the people behind you have less wind resistance, and you alternate who's in front.
Gotcha.
So whoever's in front is pulling, and they're taking the most wind, where everyone else is drafting, and it makes it easier. So you're supposed to alternate. So that's kind of what we did throughout the ride. But I remember when I got to the bridge, like, I was pulling, and I just looked back, and I was like, all right, like, I don't know. I was like, I'm just going to go. I was like, you guys can follow me. I was it was one of those things, like, I was either going to stop right there and just give up, or I was just going to, like, push it as hard as I could. And from I-75 to Crescent, I don't remember anything. I just, like, went. I just turned red and just, like, went. And they all like followed behind, and we made it, and it felt good. It's a weird thing, man. I don't know. I've always been into challenges, physical challenges especially, but honestly, this ride was so much more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge. Like, it was so difficult to, like, because you at some point, like, it's just one foot in front of the other, and
sure,
like, you get so deep inside your head. And I'm not good at endurance. Like, a lot of the workouts that I do, a lot of things I practice, a lot of my routines are very high intensity, explosive, like, quick, like, I'll get like a 45-minute workout in, and I can take the pain in a large dose for a small amount of time, but to sort of stretch that out over 8 hours is really difficult for me.
So you did the whole thing in 8 hours, including the shooting?
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been significantly shorter if you weren't shooting along the way?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, how much extra time did that add to the trip?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was harder? This is one of my main questions watching it. I was thinking, it's one thing to put your head down and, like, have to deal with the mental duress of doing this, obviously the physical aspect, but putting your head down and being like, okay, it's just me and the road, and, the road and I maybe would be better, and doing that whole thing. But you have people driving beside you, your girlfriend driving beside you, like, watching you and videoing you, and you have to stop and you have to make sure you're putting together good content for this. Yeah. That's got to make it significantly harder, I would think.
Yeah, it was, because on the way over there the night before, when we were driving to the East Coast to get to the hotel and whatever, I edited my previous week's video when I was driving. So then when I was done with that, I had to sort of scramble and come up. I mean, you know what it's like creating content. You start to, like, you get into this mode where you're thinking about the editing process before you even start shooting. So you're like, okay, well, this has to make sense, and this has to transition. Yeah. And we need us arriving, and we need us leaving, and we need all these things, and a talking point here. And so I'm going through all these things in my head as I'm riding, as we're moving. And like, I remember, like, after, like, we left, I was thinking of all the things that I missed. I'm like, oh yeah, I missed that. Like, so the entire ride, I'm just like, okay, I'm coming up to the next stop, and they were waiting for us at each stop, and
yeah, because they can't just go like 20 miles an hour the whole way.
So they would basically, the routine was kind of like, they would get some shots of us between each stop, and then they would pull over a couple miles ahead. I would grab the gimbal and the camera, and I would hold it, and I would get some shots, because I could get much closer, obviously.
Well, I saw a handoff happen. Or did I imagine that? Did you hand the camera?
No, I wish.
No?
That would have been amazing.
I didn't see that happen.
I feel like I saw your hand reaching towards the lens and, like, grabbing it.
I did grab it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did do a handoff.
But I didn't actually take the camera. I just grabbed the lens really quick.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. I wish I should have done that. That would have been a great.
Well, I mean, it made us think.
It fooled me.
Damn, they're freaking just throwing this camera around as they're speeding by.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Well, I thought you did, so.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
I was going to say just stick with that. It doesn't really matter.
Guys, I did.
Oh, my God.
Totally did it.
So you did all this, and you got done, and then And then you edited all of this in a short amount of time.
Yeah, so I had a week. To edit it. And it was just, like I said, it was just bits and pieces. Whenever I had 30 minutes, I sat down and I just put some clips together and tried to figure it out. And there was, like I said, there were gaps in some things because I am very new to this. So,
right.
But
the story was clear.
That's good.
It made sense. It held my attention. It was long. It's a longer video than I would typically watch in that kind of genre, but I was captivated the whole time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was worried because I was like, okay, it's just going to be like, because in all reality, the ride is really fucking boring.
Sure.
There's not
it's
a lot
Florida.
going on.
Yeah.
So a
few cows.
Yeah.
Some fields.
What are these people going to watch?
Side note, your little bag thing, were you sponsored by them?
Unofficially.
Okay.
So they're a company that...
what's the company?
Stashers.
Okay.
They're a company that a friend of mine, so the third kid, so there was Ben and another kid, Colin, that was on the ride with us. Colin had established a relationship with them and they, kind of got along or whatever. And Colin and I did a little promo for them just because we liked the company. Like, we liked what they were doing. They're a smaller company and we wanted to support them with some content. So I shot some promo of him for the bag company, and in return, they've just been super nice and they hooked us all up with bags for the ride. And
nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. They just really wanted to support the ride. And we kind of told them about it, went back and forth a little bit, and they're like, we want to give you bags. So these bags are great because I think they're like double or triple insulated. So when you bring all of your stuff, when you bring a bar, you're going to have it's going to melt.
Right.
It's hot.
Yeah,
if you put it in a backpack, it's going to be melted. If your water is going to be hot, everything, and these bags keep everything at a perfect temperature, basically.
Did you keep an ice pack or something in there?
No, I should have. I didn't even think about it.
You could have. That would have probably kept everything a little colder.
Cold, yeah. Yeah.
But you like drinking the warm whiskey.
Yeah, just hot whiskey out of the bottle.
That's what we have tonight.
Yeah.
Little Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, you know me.
Cheers, by the way. Thanks again for coming and doing this. So if you wanted to look up this video, how would they find you on YouTube to watch the spiking video?
If you go into YouTube and you type in Ride Across the State, Ride Across Florida 2019, it'll probably come up.
Okay.
If not, you can go to my Instagram, Someone Human, and it's in my bio.
Okay.
So you can look it up there.